Welcome to Philo Dreams and NCBNTT. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today we talk football as usual and I have a special guest. This guest went to school, was the best goalkeeper in the nation at the time, youth goalkeeper, and told the principal he's not going to play for the team because he didn't come to school to play football. People, help me welcome Anthony Clark. Welcome to St. Anthony.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure. And I love football. So,
I know.
It's always a pleasure to come and talk about football, especially Trinidad and Tobago football.
Right. I ain't seen you in a while. So I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
And we will just sit down and rap about Trinidad football.
Oh, lovely.
Good. So, first, what do you think about the game?
I think I have seen improvement, not to the standard I would have liked, but it's improvement. And I have to be sympathetic to the coach and the coaching staff because we don't get to play that level of football. We have to practice at that level, right, of football. And Trinidad has a tendency from way back when to only start preparing for these games 2 months before the game. Right? This has to be a habit. This has to be a habit of playing high-class games. You must have a succession plan so that your youth teams must also be playing high-class games of high-quality standard, against the Americans, the Argentinians, whoever it is, right it may be. We still continue to only prepare 2 months prior to a game. And in that 2 months, we rarely get a good quality game. And you can't expect to play 1 or 2 practice games at high quality and still go to play seasoned professionals and expect to get a better result than we got.
I think we've been playing a series of competitive games, like different competition or different levels of qualification. So I think we had a full year or 2.
And that's why you're seeing the improvement. This is not something for a year or 2 years. This plan has to be a continue. So if we continue doing this, right, you will continue to see the improvement. So I totally agree with you. And that is why we have seen the improvement from when Angus Eve took over to the consistency of the tournaments and the games. And you have seen improvement in every of the tournaments and all the games. He has a nucleus of local players now that he is grooming. He is only filling in with the foreign players that are essential, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we don't have that much
international
foreign players.
Yeah, correct.
And playing in any big leagues or nothing like that. But they're doing well. But a game itself, listening to the people around saying there's people on the bench who should have been playing, and you will always get that.
Well, we will always get that. We will always get that because we are not in the training sessions.
Right.
The coach is in the training sessions. Right? And the coach is not going there with a mindset of spiting anybody. He is picking the best people based on who performed in training. You can't pick people based on their name. You have to pick them based on how they performed in the training session, especially the training session just before the game. So, we have been picking people with names all for the last 10 years, bringing all the players used to come back from foreign clubs and play just because they play in a foreign country. So I will have to trust the coach. I'll have to trust Coach Eve on picking the best people based on performance and training.
So you're satisfied with our performance and the result and everything?
I'm satisfied that I'm seeing improvement. I could never be satisfied with a loss. right? I'm satisfied with the performance has improved from the last performance. I'm satisfied we didn't get, how much did we get against USA the last outing? 6?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm satisfied that it was, right, because, right, one of the goals was a goalkeeper error, right? So I'm satisfied that it was a loss that you could have seen that the game was still competitive, and I'm satisfied that we have seen improvement.
Who on the team now that you have a high on? Is there anybody, in fact, and is there anybody who you think should have get a game?
No, again, I would stick with my thoughts on the coach picked the best team for the day based on his assessment in training and practice games and so on. And I am always, glad to see Riley Garcia. I'm always glad to see Riley Jones brothers. I'm glad to see the younger players. I'm not sure of their names because they are now coming up. That there's a strong contingent from the defense force, and the defense force is known for their discipline and their fitness and so on. I'm glad to see that he has formed a nucleus of young players because we are not preparing for that Copa America tournament. We are preparing for the next World Cup. So I am not looking at short-term goals. Right now I'm looking at the main goal of World Cup in 3 years' time. So I'm glad to see the improvement, and I think that if we continue in this vein, we will be a force in the region for the upcoming World Cup.
I think we're in this space now only because the older players, the Molino and those guys, just quit on the coach, which was a blessing in disguise.
Correct.
So now that happened, he was forced to do what he's doing with the younger players, and I think he's getting a lot of success with it. So he is maybe a happy camper now. Well,
you see, and I agree with that. I know, Coach Eve is a God-fearing man as well. So, God sends blessings in disguise that you're not aware. When he arrived there, everybody basically expects that a new coach arrives and they expect instant results. We are in the developmental stage. We are in the reshaping stage. We are not an international class team. We are not an international class country in terms of football or any sport of that matter. Even though we have a professional league, we are still amateurs. All right? So if, I wish our fan base could understand that, and I wish our fan base could give a coach a developmental period. Like, for example, how Coach Hart had the team for a period of time, and he saw improvement year after year, month after month. And I think that Coach Eve is the right coach, at the time. I don't necessarily believe that you bring a foreign coach and you'll see instant success. I think you have to have local knowledge and so on, and Coach Eve has that. He has been dealing with these players as youth players from college and so on, and they respect him because he has had a great career as well. So I understand that we are still in the developmental stage. We are on the right track to prepare for our World Cup campaign, upcoming World Cup campaign.
I'm glad you mentioned Hart, because Hart was doing an excellent job. He had a good nucleus built. And then your boy came and became president and sent him packing, right? You know who your boy is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And send him packing. So, and now we have an election around the corner. Now, if the new president come and send Angus packing, might work out to be the same thing.
Well, based on, I remember right back then, I wasn't in agreement with it either, but I remember that president at the time gave statistics of 15 games without a win.
Sure.
And if that was the case, you know, he felt that he could try to do something
Different.
different. Now, if this president comes, Angassiv has had good results. So a coach's currency is the results of the game. And it is not the same thing because Angassiv results over the last year has been excellent. At that time, Coach Hart was in a developmental stage still, right? And for me, the results were not important at that point in time either. Who he played, he was playing tougher teams. Right, there's no way we were expected to win those games, but it was a developmental process of getting the guys to play at that level and see what that level was. So I expected the losses. I expected not to have and the losses at that time, they weren't bad. It was 1-0, 2-1. So you saw the team developing, and I think, it was a little lack of foresight, at that time to get rid of Coach Hart, at that time. But that president went specifically on results. He didn't look at the big picture of development. But it'll be very difficult for any new president to get rid of Coach Eve now.
You think so?
Because his results has been positive, very positive.
Good. I had said to Angus, anything he touched turned into gold.
Yep.
I looked at him from youth and then to Naparima.
Yeah, college. Correct.
And national team.
Yeah.
But it's still a question mark over whether he's the man to.
Well, I think his coaching techniques and his dedication to continuing learning any game is on point. What Trinidad needs now is competitive games, continuous competitive games. We need to be on a world tour. Football is big business. We need to be constantly on a world tour with that national team, every month, every 2 months, playing a high quality series of international games against clubs that don't have to be international teams. It could be professional clubs from all over the world because they are still at a higher standard. They have international players as well. That is what the team needs to continually play at that level and be prepared for that level of football. So any coach that comes, that is what the recommendation. It could be Ben Hacker again. You still need the team to play at that level consistently.
So we need strong administration.
We need strong administration and administration with a vision.
And so that would be what's coming up because we have an election coming up in a month or two.
Yeah, I think in a month's time, yeah.
So what do you think, speaking of the election?
I am glad that people have put themselves up to, I'm glad that it shows an end to the normalization committee. The normalization committee had their function. They were successful at their mandate. People had a view of what they should have been doing. They had a mandate. And that mandate was a mandate of mainly debt reduction, to look at the constitutions, try and deal with stakeholders, write a new constitution. They have brought our debt down. They have paid off a lot of debts, and they were successful at their mandate given to them by FIFA. They were not here to revive football. They were not here to make sure that we had a good professional league. They were not here to make sure that we were winning international games with the national team. They were not here to hire an international coach. That was not their mandate, and people were judging them on that criteria versus what their real mandate was. So they were successful. They were successful at what they came here to do. I'm glad that whoever is going to get to be president will have it on a manageable scale. They wouldn't be in there with $30, $40 million of debt over their head, and they, trying to climb out of a barrel with snakes and scorpions and so on, everybody on their back. They will be getting a new TTFA at a manageable state, and it should be easier for them to promote football and improve football from now on, if the right candidate is selected.
But we said that, but I don't know for sure. It's just, again, I don't hear everything on the ground. My ear is on the ground. I'm on the street, and I'm hearing that what they did was they set up a loan. Actually, we have to pay back all that money.
And if that is it, it's still manageable. It's still manageable, whereby the debtors have been paid and the loan would have been, the loan should be manageable. It's still manageable, where you don't have everybody wanting all their money at the same time, and you now have a manageable debt to repay. And by proper management and organization of football and getting income in, remember they get a subvention from FIFA, so, use some of that money. So, I hope the stakeholders don't expect we World Cup bound again. We are still in the rebuilding stage, and we have to understand that Trinidad football is rebuilding, and hopefully it's rebuilding now on a more solid foundation than what we had in the past.
I'm glad you say that, because the election coming up, we have two candidates. I would like to hear your views on both, but I wouldn't do that in this segment. I would take a break, and we'll do it in the next segment. When we come back, I want you to give me your thoughts on how you think the election is going to go, and who is the slate that you like or dislike, or whatever you want to give me. I'm here to listen to you. You the teacher now, but I used to be the teacher for you. Now you the teacher. I am listening to whatever you can tell me. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Change on TV to the sun, boy, better stay calm, be cool.
Trinbago Heritage, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on NCBNTT Television Network.
In a land far, far away, deep in the heart of the city of San Fernando, lies a place right out of every child's dream. Rides, slides, foam, and fun. Nigel Cotiers presents an Easter Adventure Fantasyland on Monday, April 1st at Monrepo Recreational Ground, Monrepo, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's an Easter adventure like none other. The ultimate Easter experience for kids. There'll be a wet zone, so come and splish splash. You can slide the whole day, and of course, the dry zone with bouncy castles, train rides, slides, obstacle courses, and a whole lot more. This is not an April Fool's joke. Bring the kids and the entire family to enjoy Easter Adventure Fantasyland on Monday, April 1st at Monrepo Recreational Ground, Monrepo, from 1 to 8 p.m. The rides are free. Food and drinks on sale.
I feel like I'm running tongue again. Jump and shake the ground again. Wave with all my friends and them.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. The ones now tuning in, you're looking at NCBNTT. This is Field of Dreams, and I'm Steve David, the host. And on this, joining me on the set is Anthony Clark, the big honcho on,
Wow.
on TTFA football.
I won't say that, Steve. I am
What are you?
just a football enthusiast, just like many people here in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, I have been involved in football since I've been a youth. I'm in love with football. I'm sad at the state of football, and I would like to see football rebound and improve in Trinidad and Tobago.
Cool. All right, before the break, we were talking about the election coming up, and I asked you the question, what you like about what the slates and what you like about them and what you dislike about them, and I'll give you a chance to voice your views on those things.
Yeah, I mean, right to start with, I've heard, well, I'm happy that, right as I said before, that, you know, the end of the normalization committee is here. I was in support of the normalization committee. I am glad that they have brought the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association to a manageable stage now, that any new president will now find themselves able to manage the affairs of the Football Association. Mm-hmm. You don't have all these court cases, everybody wanting the money at the same time. However, the new financial arrangements are made. If it was a loan they received from FIFA, they now have a manageable repayment plan versus people taking them to court and so on. So that's a good thing. They did their job. The two slates, yes, I have my views on them. I don't have any horse in the race. I am not involved with any football club. I do have a vote. Right, I am just a bystander, looking at who I think is best for Trinidad and Tobago football. That's the only view I have. And, you know, I think if people step back and really look at the slates, there will be a clear way that I think that we should go. And I have a view on that. And we will do that by examining the slates. Mm-hmm. Right?
I told you should have run for president, but you turned me down.
That is still a job without a salary. It's still a voluntary job. I have bills to pay.
All right.
Right? So Um, I will start with the Edwards slate. You know, I'm proud of the young man. He did well. He is a reputable businessman. He got involved with football. He is, I think, the president of the Eastern Football Association. And he has, I think, his first vice president is Colin Murray. Second vice president is Osmond Downer. The third vice president is Riggs, the guy
Super League.
right from Super League. I had some affiliation with him when I was involved with the Super League, right, with San Fernando Giants. And the other, the thing that I find that I'm not seeing from that slate is the academics qualifications to actually run the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. Right, I have some notes here on that. You know, yes, Mr. Riggs. And I did my I took my time. I mean, you invited me here 2 weeks ago.
I didn't know you were bringing
I know that
book with you.
Well, I did my research. You invited me here 2 weeks ago, and I said, listen, I have to do some more research on this. And I did my investigations into the people. I don't have a vote, but, you know, I have a voice instead of a vote. And I listened to interviews. I listened to Mr. Edwards on your show last week. I listened to Mr. Worf on the Andre Batiste show, and I read more and more articles from various news sources, and I saw what they had to say and so on and so forth. And I also listened to your interview with Jefferson George, our co-host here.
Yeah.
And so I have a good amount of information now where I can make an educated decision on how to go forward. I've been hearing on the ground that, you know, a lot of the grassroots support. You see, let's analyze football first. Football is a grassroots game. And they sometimes, and I've always said that, that football, the administrators of football in the past, except for maybe Jack Warner and Raymond Timke and David John Williams, and the membership of football is mainly grassroots. And they always see it as if somebody grassroots should be running football. But football is big business.
Understood.
Football is big business. And I'm hearing, even from Jefferson George, that, Mr. Edwards, he's talking to the stakeholders of football, and, you know, he's trying to get the stakeholders' views. And I have my own view on that. The stakeholders of football, whoever they may be, they themselves should be organized. They themselves should have a manifesto. They themselves should have a strategic plan, which they don't. But they want to say, you are not organized, but you want to say in the presidential elections. And you want to give, where is your document? And they're asking for a manifesto. Where's your strategic plan for your organization? Where's your strategic plan for at the Referees Association? Right? What is the statement inside your strategic plan to say where you would see the influence of refereeing on the overall footballing administration? That is where the president candidates should be able to get the information from to add, right, your interest into, right, their manifesto, right? But you don't have that, but you want to see, right? Where is the coaching association's strategic plan? Where do they see themselves in adding, being a value-added entity into the national association? Where's that? But what they want to do, they want to just come and talk and right and make demands of right of what they want, like if it's a bartering right system. No, it's not. This is an international organization that is part of an international association, and if you want to have a stake, you should demand of yourself exactly what you are demanding of the presidential candidates. But you want to see. So I have looked at what is the role of a president. The role of a president will be, one, organizing with his team the administration of football in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as, more importantly, represented Trinidad and Tobago on the international scene with CONCACAF, with CFU, with Caribbean Football Union, with CONCACAF, and with FIFA. And you will be going to different congresses and so on internationally. You have to ask yourself, who is better able out of the candidates to do that? You have to ask yourself, right, secondly, football is now in a new age. New technology, goal line technology, you have all types of technology now. Who is better able to take Trinidad and Tobago into that new age of technology? You have to ask these questions to understand, to see where the future of football is going. Not just vote on feelings and emotion and who's your partner. And any real stakeholder of football will do that analysis. You don't vote for the individual based on, well, right, we don't have a female in this, but, you know, just using a statement made by the great Patrick Manning. You don't vote for a leader based on gender, based on emotions. You vote on who is best able to take the organization forward into the future. And that is what you vote for. You take away your personal biases and you look at this point in time, who is better to take, based on all the information you have on technology, on international associations, on qualifications, who is better able to take the organization at this point in time into the future. And with that, you will make a educated decision. So if we go now to, all right, Mr. Riggs, on your program, Mr. Edwards, sorry. On your program, you asked him to tell the people of who he is, and yeah, he has a history with football. He's a businessman, and that is something that was a criteria to go up the ranks in football. He's now the president. Because you're a businessman, you are the one that is funding football. Football is a grassroots sport. No money comes from the TTFA. So you always go up the ranks. If you look at all the people who were going to run for presidents, and Mr. Latif, businessman, has done a lot for football with his own money. So therefore he has become famous. You look at the people from the north who, this guy who wanted to run the last time, and he helped form the Essential League. Right, a businessman. Ferguson, yeah. Right, Mr. Ferguson, businessman, using his own money to input in football. He has risen because, as the youth say, right, you're sharing, right, right? Eating our food, and you have formed the money, you give your own prize money. They could afford to do that. That is how people rise up to positions in our footballing. And I see the same thing with Mr. Edwards, because in terms of a structured training in terms of administration, management, he did not say that he had. Right? I don't know if he had it and he just didn't mention it as a degree in marketing, administration. He also spoke about being inexperienced and saying that, he takes counsel from, and he is glad that he has Mr. Murray and Mr. Downer there.
It's 3 I's, you say,
Four.
You love it, right?
I don't.
You don't like that
I
as
don't
much
think that was a wise comment.
Okay.
Because as the leader, you should have a vision for where you want to take people. And those people will help you with that vision. He didn't indicate it on your program, that is, that he had that leadership quality and he knew where he wanted to see, the vision of Trinidad football.
Okay.
Right? That is, that's the comment I'll make on that. 3, you have a very, very elderly man who has been in football for a number of decades, who I personally can blame of having the state of football where it is today. Because I remember the days when a former FIFA vice president was in charge, and this gentleman was a very close companion to the former FIFA vice president. And when they had elections, which was supposed to be at the National Stadium, and 2 hours before the elections, the venue changed to Miaru, he was found to be in Miaru. So he never questioned that former FIFA vice president and now at age 99, you want to become involved in football administration in this country?
Still have a year to go.
So he'll be able to contribute for 1 year.
Right, 1 year.
On top of that, I have linked, that former FIFA vice president has always been linked to the Eastern Football Association. Always.
Constitution specialist.
Right? No, but I'm now speaking about the former FIFA vice president.
Okay.
Has always been linked to the Eastern Football Association.
Right.
And this candidate is now the president of the Eastern Football Association. And the other associates seem to have had a very strong relationship with the former FIFA vice president as well. So I am seeing some influence. Some influence, because the candidate does not have that level of administrative experience to run an organization or to deal with the level of CONCACAF and FIFA, and he said it himself, that he is relying on the experiences of his vice president. But they won't be at the FIFA meetings, you will be as the president. They won't be at the CONCACAF meetings, you will be as the president.
You learn, just like how you start and you build yourself up. He can do the same.
You learn based on faster if you have the academic qualifications for the position that you're going into. So you will learn faster if you were in administration. You have a degree in administration, a degree in management, a degree in marketing, a degree in sports management. You would learn faster that way.
Okay, let's take a break here because you spent a lot of time on this slate. And when we come back, I want you to go up to the other slate. Viewers will be right back after this short break.
Trinbago Heritage, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on NCBNTT Television Network.
Hi, I am Nigel. Quote Me Today is your daily motivational segment to start your day right. Join me Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. right here on NCBN. Remember, wake up with a smile. Today is your day.
That's why when we festin', we just bed God when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle right now when we festin', we just bed God when we jammin', we just jam down when we drinking, man it's strong rum, eh. Pop a bottle, push up your hand.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Anthony Clark. Before the break, we were talking about slate of one side of the fence. Now I want us to talk about the slate on the other side of the fence. And then give me your summary on them both.
Yeah. So on the other side of the fence, you have someone who is presently the president or the CEO of the Premier League or Professional League, they call it now, right? Premier League.
The Premier League, yes.
Right. He has a chartered accountant, right, background. He was a senior partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers, who are known as auditors and an institution with who holds integrity at the highest. You have First Vice President Colonel, I can't remember his, I should have, Colonel Keston Charles.
Right.
Colonel Charles has a business management degree. Colonel Charles has a postgraduate. His business management degree has an international human resource development. He specialized in international human resource. Right, football is about human beings, people. So, right, that is a qualification that I would want to see on an executive. He is now pursuing a degree in law. You have Renee John Williams, who has a degree in business administration and marketing from an international university. She also, I think, did her MBA in sports administration at UWI here. You have a third vice president, who is, I think, Huey Cadet. He is a specialist in youth development. And that combination of slate versus the other combination of having a 99-year-old individual who I strongly link to the state of football today, because that individual challenges everybody else, but he never challenged the former FIFA vice president. He was a close ally, right, to that individual. You have Colin Murray, who is known for cricket. He's a commentator. He is marketing person for right, one of the beverages here in Trinidad and Tobago, and he as well is right, maybe close to 70 years old, right, close to 70 years old. And as I was saying, you have to understand, while he may have some measure of international experience because he has been in the sports world, right, for a time, that was mainly in cricket. All right, he has had no real involvement in football, except from a commentator's point of view.
You're going back in that slate,
right?
On this slate.
So,
yes.
No, well, I'm now comparing the slates.
Okay.
Right,
yeah.
right. I'm now comparing the slates. Where on the other slate, you now have professionals, certified professionals in the various aspects that you think will be necessary in an organization. You will want, you have a chartered accountant, especially with a background from an organization like PricewaterhouseCoopers. You have, right, someone who has MBA and their specialization was in human resource development. Football is about human resources. You have a second vice president with international degree on business administration and marketing. You have a third right vice president who has a history of youth development and sport. So if you look at the combination, you can see that that slate carefully chose people for for various aspects of speciality in the administration of football, versus the other side, where you have an inexperienced person going up for right leader. You have a marketing person whose affiliation is strongly connected to cricket, and you have an ancient person who has been involved in football, but I strongly connect, has a very strong relationship to the former vice president, right, FIFA vice president. And that weighs me over to the Wharf slate. In terms of me being now remember, I don't have a horse in the race. I don't have a vote. I am a football enthusiast who wants to see football improve going forward now after being handed over from the normalization committee. And I strategically or clinically looked at the candidates and what can they offer in administering football in Trinidad and Tobago, and look at their qualifications, look at their experience, and see how that those qualifications and experiences could impact on a new administration versus the other side. And for that reason, I will recommend, I do have a vote, but from a critical analysis, I think that that slate is better suited at this point in time for this term to be the administrators of football in Trinidad and Tobago.
And so that would be your taking it. But what about, we talk about education, and what about experience in footballing experience as far as administration?
Okay, so you talk about football administration. You have the colonel, who is the head of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, football
team,
right section and team. He is also he has been in football for a number of years. You have Rene John Williams, who for the last 15 years has been the operations person for Hobby Connection. So for the last 15 years, she has been in football administration. She's now the CEO of John Williams Construction, financial administrator for John Williams Construction, as well as the CEO for the Hobby Connection football team. She has been in football administration for more than 15 years. You have the third vice president who has been in youth development of football for over 15 years. All the people, besides their qualifications, they have been strategically involved in the administration of football.
Top guys, head to head.
Top guys, head to head. Mr. Edwards, a renowned businessman. I don't have anything bad to say about the gentleman. I'm not questioning his integrity or anything like that. So, Mr. Edwards, businessman, has been involved in football, has been a player for some time, not at a high level, but that doesn't matter. But I don't see.
Not only was he involved in football,
he's now the president of the Eastern Football Association.
He's all of that, yes.
Right.
So you have to give him his credit.
Yeah. So he's also the president of the Eastern Football Association. I have challenges, I could be wrong, of seeing him
representing us
at the level of CONCACAF and FIFA, because of his lack of that type of business acumen and experience at that international level. He has some local business acumen. I think that the president should have a strong educational background, either in business management, finance, accounting, because you're going to be managing large sums of money from FIFA and from sponsors.
That's what the General Secretary is for.
No, but at the end of the day, you don't hear anybody pointing a finger at the General Secretary.
I understand.
They always point their finger at the President. Right?
If you have a General Secretary who can control that and control money and stuff.
So, and if you want to go there, you also have a senior accountant, I think his name is Faizi Ali or something like that, on the WARF slate, who is the person who is non-football associated, who I think they have highlighted as the person that will be in one of those senior roles as well, right? On the other hand, you have a president who has business experience of being a chartered accountant with one of the most recognized international firms in the world, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Footballing experience.
Footballing experience. He has been the chairman of many football teams. He is now the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League.
Really?
He has been there for, the last year? And he has been associated with a plethora of clubs in the past. So he has always been in football administration.
All right, so we see where you're going.
Well, I'm not going anywhere because I don't have a vote.
Right.
I have done a critical analysis of the two slates, and I have looked at footballing experience, I've looked at educational qualifications, and I've looked at who is better able to take Trinidad and Tobago's football into the future.
Okay, question to you. After this election, does it matter who wins that would take the country to the next level? Or can both of them, whoever wins, take the country to the next level?
If I am this type of individual. I have played football all my life. I believe in team sports. If I was selected as president, if I ran and I was selected as president, I would then find a way to incorporate all football stakeholders. If you showed an interest to be involved at this level, I want you on board as well. So for me, I hope that whoever wins will involve the other individuals at that level. Right? Of course, they wouldn't have office positions, but they would be on various committees in charge of maybe the technical committee, this committee, that, because we are all stakeholders in football, wanting football. I hate to see after an election you have a wall and you still have, no, everybody needs to come together at that time. At this time, the stakeholders has chosen me to lead football. Instead of you trying to see me fail so that you could win the next election, you should try to make sure that I succeed as best as possible based on the manifestos. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about.
Okay, but I'm glad you say after the election we should come together as one for the right reasons and right cause. That didn't happen with Wallace versus John Williams. How come?
They had, I think, totally different objectives, right?
But it's not based on that. It's based on we battle, and now we together now we're going forward.
Well, it was not. It is for the winning team to send that olive branch out. And what they did when they got into there, they tried to disassociate and mash up everything that the former president did. They closed down the home of football. How could you close down something that was built for football? And they disassociated themselves from it and tried to build a new home of football in Arima. What sense did that make? So they are the ones that are, so whoever wins, they have the main responsibility for putting out that olive branch and say, well, okay, guide us through. Give us a handover of your term and see how we could have some sort of continuity going forward.
Did that happen when JW won?
When that happened, JW and Raymond Timke had many conversations.
Yeah.
And Raymond Timke gave a very good handover to David John Williams.
Okay. Anything that I didn't touch that you would like to?
I would like to touch. Yeah. I would like to touch on the manifestos. When the manifestos do come out, that is what the president should be judged on. What he says that he is going to do in his term. What happened during David John Williams' time is that his opposition was trying to derail what he said that he was going to do, Billy Hoomer football, and he did everything he said he was going to do, and try to get their agenda on his agenda. No, you have to judge a person based on what they said and what they were elected to do. They were elected based on what they presented in their manifesto, and I would hope that they are judged on that, whichever slate wins. Right? They said that they're talking to stakeholders now to try to get these stakeholders' views in their individual manifestos to make sure everybody's view is there. So if they do that and they get everybody's views in, that is what they should be judged on, and everybody should assist them in trying to achieve the objectives that they have placed in their manifesto.
You're a master at what you do, Bud, and I still think you should have run for president. But I'm glad to have you in the set. You always bring some interesting thoughts and points to the viewers, and we appreciate you for that. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Steve.
Yeah. Viewers, thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night at 8. NCBNTT, we want to thank you for the opportunity. We do have a Facebook page. You can check us out. We do have an email address, phelangerytt@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. This is Anthony Clark. I'm Steve David. The show has ended. Go in peace. See you next week. Good night.